Greetings to all. This video presentation is all about the topic Indra Parthasarathy's Legend of Nandan from the millennial perspective, a saga of pain and pathos. Nandan is a legendary hero in Tamil literature whose story is first mentioned in by one of the Saivat saints, Sundararar, in the 8th century. His story has been sung by many poets down the ages. The slender skeletal story of Nandan is expanded and enhanced by Sekirar. According to the myth, Nandan belongs to lower caste of the society who has an ardent love for Lord Nataraj at Sidambaram temple. Owing to his lowly birth, he dared not to enter the temple premise. In his dream, the Lord commands him to purify himself in the fire of immolation and cast off the sin of his birth. Nandan, after self-immolation, emerges as a Muni or saint with a sacred thread on his chest. After purification, he walks into the temple and seen by none thereafter. Indra Parthasarathy, a renowned playwright, has deconstructed the legend of Nandan in his play with the same title in 1978. This presentation explores how the dramatist has deconstructed the legend to encapsulate the society suffering from the most toxic social evil of casteism. The prime objective of this video is to inquire how the author has portrayed Nandan as a representative voice of the voiceless and suppressed. Indra Parthasarathy recreates the character of Nandan to reveal how burning casteism sets human ablaze and turns humanity into ashes.
Introduction. In many parts of the world, religion plays a big role in people's lives, sometimes even more than in the past. In India, Jawaharlal Nehru, a former Prime Minister, said that a secular state should respect all religions and let people practice them freely. But in India, some old practices like untouchability still happen even though society is changing. An article in a Hindu from March 5, 2019 talked about more than 200 hate crimes in 2018. These crimes mostly targeted groups like Dalits based on things like caste, religion, or where people come from. Many of these crimes were violent and some resulted in people getting hurt or killed, especially in places like Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, and Rajasthan. Recently in Mumbai, a young doctor named Dr. Payal took her own life. She was being teased and harassed by her classmates because of her caste. Despite laws and efforts to stop caste discrimination, it still happens in places like Tamil Nadu. This discrimination affects people's lives and opportunities, making it hard for them to achieve their dreams.
The plight of the suppressed, voiceless people was depicted by the Tamil writers from the early 20th century. Nandanar is the first known legendary character in Tamil literature representing the Dalits, whose story is first mentioned by one of the Saivid saints, Sundarar, in the 8th century. Nandan is also referred to as Tirunalai Povar, as he believed every day that he would go and have darshan of the dancing Nataraja the next day. Though many poets who came later have sung about Nandanar, it is Sekirar who greatly expanded the skeletal story and rendered it in 37 stanzas. According to the legend, Nandan is an untouchable farm labourer and devotee of Lord Shiva. Owing to his lowly birth, he was not allowed to enter the premise of the temple. He was crowned as a divinity after he immolated himself in front of the Nataraja temple, as dictated by the Brahmin priest who claimed that Lord Shiva appeared in their collective dreams to proclaim that Nandan is admitted into the temple after a purification ritual by fire. Nandan gained access to the Nataraja temple in Sidambaram as a reward for his saintliness. 19th century Gopalakrishna Bharati's version is different from the earlier version. He introduced the Brahmin and supernatural element in his creation. He used the story to criticize the upper caste ploys to keep the lower class in subjection. Way back in 20th century, Indira Parthasarathy, renowned Tamil playwright, literary critic and historian, have deconstructed the legend of Nandan in his play Nandan Kadai, which was published in 1978. Basically trained as a rigorous classical scholar in literature, Parthasarathy has retold some of the Tamil myths and legends, including history like Aurangzeb, Nandan Kadai and Ramanuja, to make them relevant in the context of contemporary values.
Nandan Kathai was translated by C.T. Indra with the title The Legend of Nandan in the year of 2003. In the light of new historicism and cultural materialism, she examines Indra Parthasarathy Nandan Kathai and writes, the playwright himself becomes a new historicist and a cultural materialist in the play, because he brilliantly historicized the original legend about Nandan. The play is a story about Nandan and not Nandanar. According to Indra Parthasarathy, R is not an honorific but a cross to bear. Being born as a Parayan, they are considered untouchables. Nandan feels deep discontent with it and offers an alternate vision of beauty and decency. For that, Nandan wants to educate the men and women of his community into a refined way of life which he finds among the upper caste society.
Nandan in this play aspires to break all the taboos related to religion not because he is defiant but because he seeks spiritual knowledge and salvation. Nandan consciously tries to elevate himself to dignity and the fullness of the self, which is privilege of only the higher caste Hindu. Nandan persuades a few among his community to turn their backs upon drinking country liquor, meat eating, sacrificing animals to their tribal gods, and became civilized. The upper caste Hindus, who depend on the physical labor of the Parayan for farming, begin to feel threatened by the rise of Nandan as a challenge to their hegemony. This is considered as a definite attempted subversion by the privileged and enlightened class of Mudaliyar, Udayar, and Brahmin communities, and they all band together and devise a play to finish Nandan. Nandan's spirituality poses a threat to the Brahmin community, traditionally regarded as an enlightened segment of society. They sense that the Nandan is fast becoming a saint and is being worshipped as a healer to by the lay. They all together draw a plot to trap Nandan in his own pity.
In the play, Nandan's rebellion is thwarted by a clever Brahmin named Vedya, acting on behalf of Mudaliyar and Udayar, who feel threatened by Nandan's devoutness to the dancing Lord Nadraja. They manipulate Nandan's religiousness, making him believe that he is destined for redemption and can perform miracles by the grace of God. Although Nandan is frightened at this awesome prospect, he is also deeply entrenched in the situation that he cannot now retract. On a chosen day, in front of huge gathering, Nandan and Abhirami enter the fire, presented as a divine act, but it is a ploy to maintain the status quo. The upper caste hail Nandan as sanctified and canonized and to call the other Paryans to follow Nandan, but later they flee for their dear lives, listening to an inhuman wailing, apparently by the burning of Nandan and Abhirami turning into ashes. Nandan symbolizes each and every Dalit who is fighting for the restoration of his dignity as a human being. Nandan pays a dear price of his life and beloved one for trying to Brahmanize himself and his clan. According to the legend, Nandan gets purified himself in the fire of immolation and cast off the sin of his lowly birth. After the self-immolation, he emerges as a saint with a sacred thread on his chest.
Indira Parthasarathy's Nandan unveils the tragedy of an ordinary man who was actually manipulated by the powerful Brahmins, that is, the so called powerful upper caste people, symbolizing entrenched hegemony. Through Nandan's fate, the play mirrors contemporary societal struggles, revealing how vested interests unite together in order to suppress the social mobility. And that's where he also stresses the point that, however, the term Brahmin does not actually refer to any unexchanging fixed caste. It points to any hegemonizing force at any given point of time. It also critiques the regressive caste system, depicting the struggle for Dalit empowerment. Nandan's story echoes the plight of the oppressed, offering a rallying voice for the contemporary Dalit leadership. As M.N. Srinivas notes, only those who live in the villages know how suffocating and traumatic day-to-day life can be for those at the bottom of the ladder. This was noted by him in the year 1997.
To conclude this video presentation, I like to add these sentences which says, Indra Parthasarathy's play graphically dramatizes such a state of affairs prevailing in Nandan's time. Even in this 21st century, things have not completely changed. Casteism is a chronic disease that affects the mindset of the individuals and groups, which is a menace to the humanity. Discrimination, caste bias, and antisocial activities in the name of religion are still prevalent in every nook and corner of our society, hampering the growth of humanity. Indra Parthasarathy recreates the story of Nandan, the marginalized, by humanizing the tough war hero by highlighting his emotional drama in this compelling work that brings Nandan to life. Indra Parthasarathy has desacralized the very canonization of Nandan. Through his play, he exposes the bitter truth of how casteism sets human ablaze, turning humanity into ashes. That's all about the presentation. Thank you.